the Delhi blast, it came as a shocker to all of us, and especially the new generation who've never seen this kind of an attack before, never seen Delhi experiencing these kind of bomb blasts and all. For them, it's a first time, especially the Gen Z guys, who are so used to having safe surroundings, don't realize, haven't grown up in a conflict situation. Some of us who have seen the Delhi blast, who have experienced, blasts going off in Sarojini Nagar, Connaught Place, Red Fort earlier, or the Parliament strike, these are in our memory. But for the younger generation, this was new. It's become this big web. And within 48 hours, the police sources had told the media about how complicated this or complex this whole thing was. Faridabad, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Kashmir, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Pakistan, and then supposedly mastermind in Turkey. Explain to me this mind-boggling, complex plot. And it was just 2 years, that's all. And then Operation Sindoor, the connection with that, this woman, Sadia, who was in touch with this women's wing of the Jaish. How do you see this?
So, Smita, maybe I'm a little skeptical. I will wait until all the investigations are completed and the investigating agencies have properly pieced together the whole picture. What you are asking me right now has appeared in news media. And what happens is, it's not a Mr. Ashok Chand who's talking authoritatively and feeding the media with what is happening. It is every two-bit person who has some knowledge, who is the source of some news person, is giving you some information, and that is why it now seems very, very confounding. Yeah, इसमें Turkey कहाँ से आ गया? What was the women's cell? This, that. And a lot of times there are people who are clueless of what exactly the investigations are, because very often these investigations, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they're very tightly controlled. It's not that raita phela hua hai. So a lot of people, they want to show that they know what the hell's happening, and they, try and piece together some information, and they say that some of it might be true. I'm not prejudging.
Right.
But I don't think we can link up all these straws in the wind until and unless we have a proper picture from an authoritative source, people who have actually investigated the thing. So one is that. See, Red Fort is also a symbol. But was he actually trying to attack Red Fort, or did he naturally gravitate to that area partly because it is so congested that you can get lost in that area? Right? There's just so many people out there.
True.
Or was it because, and we know it, perhaps he can corroborate it if he is in the mood to do it, a lot of times, a lot of these characters have been found in that area, or they've had links in that area. And maybe this guy was going out there either to meet somebody or because this was a natural magnet for him. I don't know. But I can imagine what might have been happening to him, because I've studied some of this stuff, not necessarily in India, because we've not done enough studies, academic studies. But outside India, a number of people have done academic studies in studying the minds of terrorists, psychological profiling, all of that. I can imagine he is sitting in a car and imagining certain things, what he should do, what are his options. Now, whether he detonated the bomb himself, it exploded because
these are the targets which we've heard again and again mentioning कि हम परचम फैलाएंगे रेड फोर्ट पे पार्लियामेंट significant to attack these installations.
If you have the Prime Minister of India making Independence Day speeches from the Red Fort, right, and you have the Republic Day parade going from India Gate up to Red Fort, it is a national symbol, right? Why do you think when this farmer movement took place, those Khalistani characters tried to climb the Red Fort?
Yeah.
Because that is the symbolism of Red Fort is there. That is, there is no government which sits in the Red Fort anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? That stopped about 200 years back.
Yeah.
And the last government which sat in the Red Fort उसकी तो सरकार पालम तक नहीं
But you
चलती
keep
थी.
hearing this, right? All the dark web is all about Lal Killa pe apna parcham lehraenge.
Yeah, because that's a symbol. It's
It may
nothing more
so
than that.
when the Red Fort, when this blast happened at Red Fort, it's like reflex action. We all knew that it's got something to do with Pakistan, even though nobody knew whether it was a terror plot, and we just knew it that this is
Yeah,
it is connected.
It was a terror blast. Yeah,
and
you
sure
knew it,
enough,
yeah.
No,
right?
see, when the first time when the blast happened, the original, the first instinct was it could have been a CNG blast. But when you then start seeing CNG blast, yeah, just that vehicle catches fire. And if it's in a very congested area, maybe a couple of more vehicles will catch fire. You will not have debris strewn all over the place.
Hundreds
you will not
of
have, you
feet
won't have
away.
all of that.
Yeah.
So those telltale signs then suggested that there was some
Explosive material
There was some
inside.
explosive material in the, and then of course within a matter of hours, the cops figured out, and the
Ashokji,
information came out.
Do you see the Delhi bomb blast of 10/11 as an intelligence failure or as an intelligence success?
See, it's both. It's a failure in the sense that there was a cell or a network which was being established, and it slipped through the cracks. Now, very clearly that happened. The fact that somebody could collect 3,000 kilograms of ammonium nitrate and no alarm bells went off, that is also an administrative failure. Ammonium nitrate is a controlled substance. You just can't sell it. If you go tomorrow and buy it, it's not. अब यहाँ पर तो controlled drugs भी होती हैं जो बिक जाती हैं. So but the thing is, a controlled drug will harm an individual. Selling controlled substances like this, which are potential explosives, can be used for terrorism and will kill hundreds of people or potentially hundreds of people. So shopkeepers need to be sensitized about it. And frankly, if the shopkeepers have not followed the law, then I think they really need to be taken to task.
Okay, if I'm to play the devil's advocate, I'm a shopkeeper in Faridabad and I'm stocking under, keeping all the security parameters in mind, I'm stocking ammonium nitrate. एक फार्मर आता है 2 किलो लेके जाता है, दूसरा फार्मर आता है अगले दिन उसी दिन 2 किलो लेके जाता है. 10 people come and take 5 kilos, 10 kilos, 8 kilos because it's needed for agriculture. It's a fertilizer.
So here is how it works, which is where the intelligence guys come in. Now, when this information is being collected, there has to be a system that is being fed into the system. And that is where you have to start making sense. Okay, why is there so much of offtake of this thing? It's unnatural. For the last 4 years, there was only so much fertilizer.
Okay.
So, then that is where analysis comes in. That is where, which is why Mr. Chand is saying that, the intelligence agencies work very well, and I have no reason to doubt that. But from what I have also heard, they are severely starved for resources. They need to be much more, in terms of personnel, they need more people. I don't know, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, because I had heard this. I have no other way of verifying it. There was a time when our counter-intelligence department in the IB had 25 people.
For a population
right?
of...
About IB, I cannot say. I cannot comment.
But
that's
short-staffed. Okay.
So he's a good old conservative,
We'll not talk about that
civil
department.
servant. Yeah, which is fair enough.
All
which
right.
is fair enough. But the point is, I personally feel, given the kind of challenges we face, the kind of threats we face, you really need to beef up your domestic as well as external
and more
intelligence.
coordination between the states,
Absolutely,
I would guess,
absolutely.
right?
I think a lot has changed from the past, but I think you can still improve. Which is why I say that one was the administrative failure, that nobody was maintaining those registers, and now suddenly everybody is saying, "But I didn't know." I didn't know is not an excuse, right? And then even if these guys are sharing that information, somebody needs to start making some sense out of it. To that extent, and to the extent that there were no alarm bells ringing about this particular network, and they were able to operate below the radar, is a kind of an intelligence failure.
Sushant,
not failure.
Alarm bells should have rung immediately for Haryana when they realized that one university has 40 doctors from Kashmir in one place.
So that universities should have never come up in the first place.
हाँ,
ठीक
अब
है?
पता लग रहा है कि उनका वो
And I
they don't
can
have-
assure you there will be at least another 100 universities
Which are similar?
which should have never come up in the first place. But then you come to the intelligence success part and good policing. That
And here, when I'm saying Kashmiris, I don't mean to stigmatize Kashmiris.
Of course.
No, because you see what Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti are saying, that all Kashmiris are not terrorists. So don't say, don't do this, because now we will
Umar
start
Abdullah
doubting.
is saying the right thing.
Correct.
Mehbooba
But still-
Mufti is being disingenuous, and that is as simple as that. Now, what Umar Abdullah is saying, why I agree with Umar Abdullah, look, you have the Jammu and Kashmir police, predominantly Muslims, right, from the valley. They have been in the vanguard of this fight against terrorism. You cannot function. They are your eyes and ears. They, the kind of sacrifices they've made are second to none. So when you start stigmatizing everybody, I don't think, you are either being patriotic or being fair to
No,
people.
Sushant, what I'm
So
saying
to
is
that
that जो
extent I
मैंने
agree
अभी
with.
जैसे कहा that there are 40 Kashmiri doctors in a hospital and a university in a remote Faridabad town in Haryana. Should the local Khabri network of Faridabad have kept them in focus a little bit?
Okay, so-
in one way, it is stigmatizing.
No,
कि ये कश्मीरी
no,
है
no,
तो इनको
okay,
क्यों?
so-
But
so-
I would think even if there are 40 Bengali or 40 Bihari doctors just in one university, you'd think that is there some connection? Why?
नहीं यार देखो, this is an ex post facto जो आप सोच रही हैं. So look, I'll say two things. One is on the intelligence success and good policing, that you catch hold of some. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
That certain posters had come up. There was a local police officer who said, "Yeah, this is happening after so much time. Let's investigate." And then you start unraveling the whole thing, and then everybody comes together, and the whole network starts unraveling, which is why it was a success. This bomb blast, in a sense, was an aberration. The success was that you seized everything. You ensured that plot never could go through. So that was it's a resounding success. And I think kudos to everybody who was involved
Sure.
in that. Now you come to the other thing of the Khabri network. Again, I don't know how much he will talk. That's the problem with these guys, These guys come and they don't talk. And this is my problem with Mr. Vikram Sood. I've known him for 25 years. He doesn't open his mouth. So, that's, I don't like him because of
Because
that.
there are enemies also watching,
No,
right?
yeah, I know. But, for us...
Curiosity.
हुआ क्या था exactly? What happened behind the scenes? But look, so here is the point. And this is a question, sir, please, to the extent you can answer this. See, I have often asked this question. And again, I'm not stigmatizing a community or anything. You could take it for any community.
Sure.
In Assam, you could take it, for people who might be Ulfa inclined. In Punjab, you could take it for the Khalistani lot. In rest of India, if you're looking at the Islamist networks or Islamist terrorism, jihadi terrorism, then you have to look at the Muslim community. And if there is some Hindu terrorist, by all means, go and check that. But the question which I ask is, what are the conversations which are taking place in a particular society, in a particular area? So, for example, if I'm talking about a university, there are kids, for example, in Aligarh Muslim University or Jamia Millia. Again, before people start throwing
I know.
stones at you and me and him, that you are stigmatizing by naming certain universities, you can talk about JNU
Sure.
for all I care.
Yeah.
Right? And Delhi University, which is
Jadavpur.
my alma mater. But my point is that when students in these places are sitting, what are the conversations? When, say, 15 Muslim students are sitting in a room and they're talking about politics, about geopolitics, about strategy, about economics, what are they talking? What is triggering them? Do we know those conversations? Do we know how the brains are functioning in a madrasa or in a particular locality? What are people talking about? That will give you an idea of what might be happening in a particular place. And I know it's much easier for me to say this, but it's much more difficult when you have to start implementing it at the practical level. But until and unless you know this, you're always going to be surprised. How come so many doctors have got involved? Like the entire media is labeling this white-collared crime. What the hell do you mean by that? What was Shami Witness? You remember that guy who was doing all the propaganda for the ISIS techie from Bangalore who was caught? Engineer,
Yeah.
working in Google or something like that, some fancy bloody company.
So it's not new, you're saying?
So, look, the very poor people don't get involved in terrorism. They don't have the time. They don't have the luxury to get involved in terrorism. The people who get involved in terrorism are people with some means.
The earlier thing was
there is some education.
Gurbat itni hai, so
That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. That poverty leads to terrorism. Poverty does not lead to terrorism. Was Osama bin Laden poor?
No.
Was Ayman al-Zawahiri poor? Was this guy Omar Saeed Sheikh of Kandahar, jisko choda tha, was he poor?
Yeah.
So this poverty business is utter nonsense, right? All of these excuses which are given is utter bullshit. These are covering fire. These are typical leftist way of looking at things. They were very poor, so they had no choice, so they took to guns. When Khalistani terrorism happened, was Punjab poor at that time?
No.
Wasn't Punjab the richest state in India? Was Kashmir poor when Kashmiri terrorism happened? Kashmiri lives had improved by leaps and bounds. So terrorism is not about poverty, it's not about economic factors. It has absolutely nothing to do with it.
But sometimes these are very subtle changes.
I don't think they are subtle changes.
They're not subtle.
They are not subtle changes.
Okay.
I mean...
So let's take the case, for example, of many of the ISK guys who've been arrested in India. After they've been arrested, people will tell you, you know what, suddenly he had changed. He used to go to the mosque very often. He used to berate us when we used to watch television. He did not want to hear music. Now, these are red flags, right? But listen, if it's your kid, what are you going to do? Go to him, the cop, and say, listen, I think my son's getting radicalized. There have been some cases where parents have actually done that.
Yeah.
But in most of the cases, you will say, I'll take him to the local Maulviji to tell him that he's going on the wrong path. Now, you don't know if that Maulvi is also a smart dude or he's a dumb ass who will probably buttress the radicalism.
So most mothers of these OGWs or whatever say, wo spiritual path pe chala gaya. There are words to use, I don't want to use that word, but the word basically translate to wo spiritual path pe chala gaya. So it doesn't sound negative. But
listen, what do you expect the family to do?
Yeah.
Do you expect them to go to the local law enforcement? In many cases, the local law enforcement will not be sensitive to it. So,
because radicalization is not an offense in the sense that unless a violent act has not been committed, it's
but
not
even
an
otherwise, even otherwise. So, supposing I am showing, signs of being radicalized. You notice it, you go to him. Now, it depends on what kind of a person he is. If he is one of those more sensitive guys who know how this whole thing is working, he might say, okay, let me talk to this boy, let me take him inside, let me try some, put him through some programs to de-radicalize him. If he is, on the other hand, he is one of those, this guy is going to become a terrorist, let me beat the shit out of him. Then you will say, I don't know what he's going to do. So you will say, I hope this boy is just becoming spiritual, taking to the path of religion and, getting into some otherworldly nonsense. Because I consider all otherworldly stuff is nonsense. Because I don't know if there is any other world anyways. So my point is that in many cases, people will tend to keep quiet. And once the person is caught or found out or is found to be involved in something, denial is the natural defense system.
True.
So they'll defend themselves. What do you expect the guy to say? I knew my wife is becoming a radical. Then the cops will ask him, why didn't you inform us?
Shared with other states.
So
hota nahi hai.
That's what, there's no central...
Here is where the administrative failure comes. You've passed the law. There would be some nodal person, for example in Faridabad, who has to ensure that this data is shared with him,
properly maintained.
What was he doing? Scratching his ass?
Huh.
Why isn't he being asked, what the were you doing?
Yeah.
Were you not keeping a check on
And
it?
also, it's possible it was bought in some other state and then transported, no?
No matter what.
No matter what, if I am selling ammonium
There has
nitrate,
to be
I
a
have
date.
to maintain the data and I have to share the data, or I mean somebody has to come and check whether the data is being maintained properly or not. So definitely, I mean, I would say that that aspect
वहाँ पे
was
चूक रह गए.
lacking. It's not
Yes,
lacking
Smita,
in
this is
Faridabad, it's
the-
lacking
This
everywhere
is a
also.
problem in every single department of government.
Let me come back to the question which I was asking Mr. Chand about this, that when we attacked, it was Bawalpur, Jaish-e-Mohammed
Bawalpur,
Bawalpur was attacked. So when you saw that, did you think that, back broken, or did you realize that it's a matter of time before these guys do something to avenge that mosque being shattered?
No, I think it was very clear if you see the kind of statements that the Lashkar characters and the Jaish fellows have been making, and there are videos, they have been going around all kinds of places, making speeches, blood-curling speeches. It was very clear that they were going to try and do something. The question was, it is one thing to be threatening revenge, and quite another do they have the kind of capacity and capability that they'll be able to do it? Number one. Number two, what will be the role of the Pakistani state? Because these guys cannot function without the Pakistani state. So quite clearly, I think the intentions of the Pakistani state was also very clear, that they are not going to let go of this whole terrorism industry which has started in that country, and they will continue to doing it. Now, maybe they'll do it at smaller levels so that there is no big retaliation, and maybe they'll say, okay, India, bring it on. Okay, we don't know. Like I've been telling some people, if you are a Pakistani and you have bought all the bullshit which Asim Munir and that his chapadasi Shahbaz Sharif have been trying to sell people, what is the story they are giving? That we have beaten India, right? None of them talk about the kind of beating they got, but we have beaten India. We have won the war. I don't know which war it was, but they've supposedly won a war. America is at our back. The Chinese are at our back, of course. The Turks are backing us
Azerbaijan,
completely.
yes, all of them.
And now even the Arab world, which had kind of pulled away from us, is backing us. So we can take on India. Because if Saudi Arabia has signed a deal with us, a mutual defense agreement, India cannot attack us anymore, because then Saudis will jump in. This is the Pakistani narrative. So add this to the kind of calls which the terrorists have been making. So it was, I don't think anybody in the government of India or in the security services would have thought that the Pakistanis are not going to do anything. I think that
this
expectation would always be there.
So this is an asymmetrical attack on India, which is a continuation of retaliation to Operation Sindoor?
Look, again, in this particular case, I think I'll still wait till the investigations are complete, and I'll tell you why. Because I think Mr. Chand pointed this out. This cell does not emerge after Sindoor. This cell has been in operation for about at least 3 or 4, 2 years, maybe even longer.
Media
right?
reports, yeah.
Right? So this cell has been there long standing, and I think this cell was planning something big. Now, were they planning something big because the Pakistanis had put them to it? Or were these guys who were radicalized in a different environment, maybe having some Pakistani link? Because if again,
And it's got nothing to do with the 27th Amendment and General Munir continuing.
No.
This is nothing to do with
no.
all that. The attack was not timed.
Okay, this is the problem. When you start talking to me about Pakistan, then I can't stop. But on the 27th Amendment, just one sentence. What has the 27th Amendment done?
Given him immunity, that's all.
Nothing. A general in Pakistan always has immunity. The only person it has given immunity is to that crook, Asif Zardari. Okay. Musharraf could not be prosecuted.
दुबई चला गया था ना
वो कोई नहीं कर सकता, आपको prosecute नहीं कर सकते. But the point is not that. 27th Amendment has only made official what was already there.
नहीं, look, if Imran Khan comes back into politics, he could do some stuff to Munir. So अगर
When
ये
Imran
amendment-
comes back, we'll talk about it.
अच्छा ठीक है.
That is what you
We'll
wishful
talk about
thinking.
what ठीक है when It's like,
He's not going to be
can I
permanently
make a
in jail.
political statement
हाँ,
on
बोलो.
it? It's like saying Rahul Gandhi जब Prime Minister बनेगा तब ये होगा. तो मतलब ठीक है, जब वो बनेगा तब की तब देखेंगे.
हाँ.
So that's not the point. So I would imagine that, look, we have been in a bit of denial within India. There is a certain amount of radicalization which is also taking place in India. Some of it, and a lot of it, is probably inspired by terror groups outside India. International jihadist groups, the kind of propaganda which is happening on the internet, social media, all kinds of other chat rooms, all kinds of other things. All of that has been happening. But in at least at the political level, there has been a level of denial that there is radicalization taking place within Indian society, among Indian Muslims, and you see more of it among the educated and the half-educated. Because they are the ones who are consuming the kind of trashy videos that you and I would not even look at. But they are consuming it, right? Yaar, communist kaun banta tha? Did you ever see a Mazdoor who was communist? Because the Mazdoor had to do Mazdoori, yaar. It was the communist was always either really elite champagne liberal, right? He became a communist, right? Somebody was roaming around in a Merc, but was preaching communism, or the middle class type, It's the same thing with a terrorist.
But a doctor, a physician, it's a little shocking. They take the oath to cure people, and for
What
them
about Ayman al-Zawahiri?
was yes. But
I
you
can
would
show
think,
many others who were like that.
I don't know, an Indian doctor. I would
Yeah,
think,
look, this is your class bias. Okay, I'm accusing you of a class bias.
Okay.
That, look, these were people like us, educated.
They are, no.
University going, etc., etc. Because you are not understanding what's happening in their brains. When that Mentos moment comes in their brain and the switch suddenly flips, you have no idea which way they're going to go. Which is why, this nonsense which is always said, we should educate people that terrorism is a very bad thing. You think people don't know terrorism is a bad thing? But they don't think they're doing terrorism. What these guys think is that they are serving a larger religious cause, the cause of the community. They don't understand they're damaging the community. That they are creating a kind of a resentment against the community, which will, normal, ordinary people who are doctors among the Muslim community will also now be tarred by a certain brush. These assholes don't think like that. They think that they are doing this for the greatness of the cause, for the community, for Allah, etc., etc., which is nonsense, but that is what they believe in. You don't seem to understand that, this is what is sticking in their head. It is not the other stuff, the earthly or the worldly stuff that you and I are bothered about. That is not what is sticking with them. That is where the problem is.
Zawahiri and the others whom you're mentioning, they were doing recruiting, planning, plotting. वो खुद तो जाके suicide bomber नहीं बना. But this doctor who blew himself up in the Red Fort bombing, he's a doctor himself. But for a doctor to become a suicide bomber, didn't shock you?
No, it didn't entirely shock me because, look, I study Pakistan and I've seen a lot of this happening in Pakistan. Although that has not happened so much by the Islamists, but for example, there have been cases where there have been Baloch freedom fighters, women who are PhD scholars, with kids who have decided, because of the oppression of Pakistanis, to go and blow themselves up. So there have been a number of cases like that out there. So it doesn't really surprise me that somebody like him, if he actually was a suicide bomber, I'm still holding out on that judgment. Was it a suicide bombing? Did he actually blow himself up?
Or just panicked?
Or he panicked, or some I won't call it an accidental explosion.
Unless he has left a phone message somewhere.
See,
do
I'll
they
tell
do
you-
that? Do they give clues?
Normally they do.
Huh.
Especially the jihadist lot, they normally leave this last testament kind of a thing, and a kind of a will which is then given to their families. happened mostly with the Pakistani
Because
groups.
3 hours he's sitting inside a car.
Yeah, so okay, so let's
you think he
imagine
would have
let's
done
imagine
that?
we are making
I
a
think
movie.
he would have.
Let's imagine we are making a movie.
Yeah.
And I'm making a movie on this particular plot. And I am an ace director and I say, so here is this guy who is now sees the world closing
On him.
on
yeah.
him, right?
Yeah.
He has no option left. There is nothing, there's only darkness in front of him. Even if he wants to run away, where the hell will he run? The world is not big enough for him to run, right? There is nowhere, he's a rat who is caught in that rat trap. What does he do? Now, for 3 hours, he is getting agitated. He has been to a mosque, he has been to other places, and he realizes there's nothing left for him. Now he is suddenly even trying to figure out what he needs to do. Now, in that state of mind, he might actually decide that he's going to blow up the car. Again, what do you mean by a suicide bomber? That means that the bomb was rigged in the car and he had to press a button to explode it.
But they haven't found a detonator as
So,
yet. Maybe there was one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not prejudging that.
Correct.
But if he has to blow up the... One is a suicide bomber who's wearing
With the
a suicide
vest.
jacket.
हाँ, वो
right?
तो नहीं था.
वो तो नहीं था. The other is that there was a bomb which was rigged in the car. Was a bomb actually rigged in the car? Which means that it was a car bomb which was all set to go off, and here is a guy who triggered it. That once they investigate, they'll be able to find out whether there was a triggering mechanism or something which did this. Otherwise, it could be something that you've kept that explosive in a way that now you're hearing something about Kashmir, you know, that some explosives were taken out there. In that police
today, this
station.
morning
we don't
it's happened,
know
yeah.
what exactly happened, whether that was, again, the reports are that it was an accidental blast, but I don't know. We'll wait for more information on that. But the point is that it could be just this guy trying to figure out a way and this thing suddenly blows up, or he blows it up. But for him, in his desperate state, to become a suicide bomber is one thing, and to become a suicide bomber who knows that he's going to a certain place and going to go and blow himself out there is a completely different theologically. Suicide is haram for these guys. So they never call themselves suicide bombers. So, sir, just as a word of caution, please don't call them Fidain. They would love to be called Fidain. They should be called suicide bomber or a suicide attacker. Because suicide is haram for them. So they are haramis. So call them suicide bombers.
Okay.
Right? Number one. Number two, the idea, the theology is that, look, once you go into that army camp, as Mr. Chand is saying, and he's absolutely correct, there is maybe a 1% chance that you can get away with it. Right? You've assaulted and something has happened and so there is, he has gone with the intention that if I die, I die. But there is a possibility that I might even escape. Right? And there have been a number of cases where they managed to escape. So the term which they use for themselves, even the guys who go and blow up a particular place and where death is assured, there is a particular term, I think it's called ishtihadi or something like that. That's the term they use. They never call themselves as a khudkush bombar. That is a term which the others give to them.
Okay.
The term which they give to them, say, either a fidain, right, which gives you a certain religious connotations to it, or it is this ishtihadi, or I'm forgetting the exact pronunciation. It's that. But I think because, like I said, they're committing something haram, they're haramis, so call them suicide bomber or suicide attack.
Or haramis.
और haramis. But वो connotation उसका वैसे थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ हो जाता है. आप अखबार में तो नहीं लिख सकते ना कि he was a harami. You know, suppose like this Red Fort blast took place, जो भी हुआ. And we suddenly see that around the world we see that people sanitize the area. Out here we see that it becomes a tourist spot. Journalists picking up pieces, showing it on camera, you know, people walking in that area. Why is it? And this is not the first time a bomb blast has happened. We've been facing bomb blasts throughout the country, like, you know, you yourself said. We don't have any SOPs. I even see cops. For example, you know, outside India, you will see very standard operating procedures where when they're collecting evidence, they're using gloves, they're being very careful. out here we see people picking up stuff with their hand. All kinds of things are happening. Is it a question of training, resources? What? I just trying to figure out why we do what we do.
See, SOPs are there. SOPs are there for this is a crime scene. How you secure the crime scene and how you pick up evidence. All the SOPs are there. But at that point of time, the person who is there at the spot or who is the senior officer at the spot, he has to ensure that the scene of crime is totally barricaded. And then subsequent to that, the investigation starts. I mean, but maybe it was such a crowded area and it was difficult to sort of, I can say, secure the scene of crime. And maybe the scene of crime was scattered over quite a large area. So, but I think subsequently it was done. Initially, you see, initially what happens? The local police reaches. Then
Isn't this training to be given to
No,
them?
to everybody, to the local police too.
No, what happened? Initially, local police reaches. So, first though, once an incident has taken place and if it is a bomb blast, you need to sanitize the area and then move in. But what happens is, local police reaches and then you are asked to tell the details and all that. क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, क्या हुआ. तो वो फिर थोड़ा सा इधर उधर he starts.
Sir, if this lady, this Lucknow lady, doctor, if she has a plan that Babri Masjid के anniversary पे हमने जाके बिरला मंदिर पे
ऐसा थोड़ी होता है कि
See, I'll tell you.
एफिडेविट थोड़ी दे रही
But
है.
हाँ, सबके पास डायरी होती है यार.
नहीं, नहीं,
सुशांत.
ऐसे
No, I'll just tell you one more
But
thing.
you
See,
want-
under the UAPA, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act,
हाँ.
a statement made in front of
Shaheen
a
Saeed.
Shaheen Saeed. हाँ.
statement made in front of a statement recorded by a deputy commissioner of police or a superintendent of police is evidence in court. But the question is whether the courts accept that evidence or not. Otherwise, we have in the what do you call PMLA, Money Laundering Act, there is in UAPA also. But it depends on the court whether he accepts that what he has told the police officer is
अभी आ
correct,
जाएगा
he or
ना?
she.
There are two-
Human
correct or
rights
not.
organizations will come up with
and,
the rights of these.
There are two issues. Mr. Chan talks about CCTV cameras. Let's take the case of, which to my mind is a very clear case of terrorism, the Udaipur beheading case.
हाँ.
Right? The guys were on CCTV. Their mugshots are captured. They have been, they've at least been given bail or something.
Yeah, they're
right?
out on bail. Yeah.
Why? That's a miscarriage. That's a very clear miscarriage of justice. And somebody should be asking the judges or the local cops. Either the cops did not, because we are looking at only the headlines that they've been given bail. Maybe the local cops didn't make the case properly. I don't know.
Maybe
it is entirely possible.
Yeah, entirely possible.
So there is a case to be made for the local cops when they are making the case. I don't know, sir, whether you do have the prosecutors.
Yes.
हाँ,
That process is there.
That process, okay. So that is one.
It goes to judicial, scrutiny, legal scrutiny.
No, but that is when you are filing the case.
But
when you are
during the
collecting-
investigation,
Huh.
you have prosecutors helping you in major cases, not in all cases.
Yeah, but
this is a major.
This will
This
be a
is a
major.
major.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it
this
should
is
have been.
one.
It
So
should have been
this
there.
this will be one
Definitely,
thing. The second problem is that it's very easy and sometimes it's probably correct to blame the judges. But look, if you are a judge, you have to rule. Sometimes it's bias of the judges which enters the thing. Sometimes it is influencing the judiciary either through bribes or through threats. We know that has also happened.
And media trials जो कहते हैं.
And media trials. Okay, that has also happened. But let us assume that none of those factors are operating. A judge is sitting without any influence on him and he is looking at a case, right? He has to rule on the basis of the law.
Yeah.
Now, if, as Mr. Chand is saying, if, the law does not provide for certain things, how can the judge say, yaar, just because Mr. Chand is saying that Smita Prakash was there, she is responsible for a bomb blast, does not make you responsible for a bomb blast, right? What is the other evidence which nails her involvement in this bomb blast? That is where the problem starts coming in. Now, one, again, maybe I'm being presumptuous. he has more experience, he's been there, done that. Maybe there needs to be, and beyond simply making a statement before a police officer or a judge, magistrate. Maybe a magistrate still all right, but उससे भी मुकर सकते हो. You can turn hostile despite having
Yes,
made a
right.
statement to the magistrate.
Absolutely.
Right? Uh,
That's not perjury then?
but
I mean, no, you see, I
have
mean,
you
what
know
I-
of anybody who's
you
been
see,
booked for perjury in this
Perjury,
country?
in this country.
Yeah.
That's also.
See, basically, what they do is basically, I'll just interrupt. I mean, they say it is coercion.
Ah, okay.
I mean, although there are what you call rules are there that they should be kept separately and all that, but they say it's coercion. And so, what you need is, apart from a statement in front of a police officer, and subsequently it is accepted by the judge at that point of time, is corroborative evidence, other evidence.
Yeah.
The judge asks. I mean, obviously, the legal.
So maybe there is a case to be made, and this is where certain imaginativeness needs to come in the law of what constitutes corroborative evidence. Right? It cannot be just a statement.
Okay.
I don't know how practical and feasible it is, but maybe there could be certain other things which you can come up with on what might constitute corroborative evidence in a particular case like this. So, in this particular case, the fact that these guys, and in many cases, sir, conspiracy may be a problem. At that point of time, maybe today, that kind of evidence might still
be
be be upheld in
Upheld,
the court. But back then, when the parliament attack
Yeah.
happened, it wasn't going to, there was no provision in law to accept that. So while you had nailed the guy, and which is my beef with most of these third-rate bloody human rightists, these so-called activists, most of them are terrorists, the overground face of the underground. These people, they started giving these glowing certificates to this bastard Gilani, right? He is an innocent fellow, has been nailed by the police, etc., etc. He got away on a technicality. He was hand in glove in that entire plot. And in many cases, people who get released after 10, 12, 14 years in jail, they are not picked up simply because, Mr. Ashok Chand ko ji शौक चढ़ा था किसी को उठा के जेल में डाल दो. Not because of that.
They
Sorry.
are part of the plot, but then
Definitely,
evidence
I mean,
की वजह से.
before
And
the
they all come
parliament
out
attack,
with-
we didn't know who was Jilani or who was Muhammad Afzal, who was Shaukat. I mean, none of us.
And they all
knew
come
them.
out pretending that they
Yeah.
are, very innocent lambs in the wood who have been done
And this is
down
going to
by these.
happen in this case
Always,
also, probably.
in fact, it has
but,
already
in
started,
the parliament
hasn't it?
attack, when we went on appeal to the Supreme Court, although didn't overturn the High Court judgment, but remarked that the needle of suspicion also points towards
Gilani.
I mean, that was an indication that
But
look, you are not above.
But you
board.
got away on a technicality, right?
Yeah.
So maybe in the law, people need to rethink the law a little bit and see what other things can constitute to be corroborative evidence which will be upheld by the courts.
Okay, final question. Sushant, I'll begin with you. Now, this has been now established that it's a act of terror and needle of suspicion, Pakistan, right? Do you see Operation Sindoor in some way happening? Or do you think that India is going to have an asymmetrical reaction to Pakistan, or do you see attack again? What do you think happening? Difficult.
Very difficult to say. Let's wait and see. I think part of the problem is that there are expectations that every attack. See, again, people did not understand what the Prime Minister was saying. I think when he says that every attack will be seen as an act of war, it was in a sense a political statement, but it was a statement of policy. But that policy was not very well defined. Now, an act of terrorism, say by a Maoist, is not you're not going to go and attack the Pakistanis for it, right? If supposing something happens in Manipur because there is some Myanmar militant group involved,
don't attack, yeah. Got
if
that.
there is a Bangladeshi terrorist who comes in, you're not going to go after Pakistan. So, partly it's become a political football, this statement. But I think purely in terms of intent of the state of India to take the war into, Pakistan, I think that is an unexceptional policy. I completely agree with it. The question is, when do you operationalize it? Because look, you are then talking about, it's not the same thing as Israel going against some of the other countries around it. We keep talking about Israel, but look at the fact that the overwhelming superiority that Israel has.
Yeah, the countries around
There's
don't
no
have the
comparison,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
So we have to be very, very careful about the environment in VR.
Yeah.
Which means that there will be certain things on which you will take the war out there, and there'll be other things in which you will probably retaliate in a different way. So I would imagine it will be a combination of measures if indeed the Pakistani hand is very clearly established. I think the one good thing which the government did this time, they did not, again, this is a tricky thing, that they did not jump to the conclusion and immediately point a finger.
No, yeah.
Right? The problem with that is that if you don't have some kind of a automatic tripwire, then you are back into that now 10 days, 15 days, then the pressure will go off. You don't need to
Islamabad mein
act.
blast ho gaya simultaneously,
But
and
that
everybody
is
was
their
like,
problem. That is
Yeah.
not my problem, right?
Yeah, but they immediately blamed India for it.
No, they can go to hell. They can't do shit all about it. But the fact of the matter is that, so there is this dilemma. Do you have a tripwire, or do you have a deliberated kind of a retaliation? And when you have a deliberated retaliation, then, maybe 15 days later, when the hand is finally established, if at all it is, things have moved on. Okay, so there is that problem. The second issue is going to be that what about the involvement? Because again, these are reports still to be confirmed. Other countries. The Pakistanis have been known that they will certainly sponsor terrorism into India, but try and hide behind certain veneers. So now Turkey is one of their favorite destinations from where they plot. The Turks can deny till they go blue in the face. It has absolutely holds no water, their denials. They are third-rate people who have been involved with Pakistani terror groups. They have been involved in indoctrination. They have been involved in disinformation and misinformation campaigns. There's an entire industry based in Turkey, and there are a whole lot of Kashmiris who are seduced to go to Turkey where they are indoctrinated. Okay? And it's not happening recently. It's been happening for over a decade now.
Also, this thing of doctors from Kashmir who have gone to study medicine in Dhaka.
No, but see, again.
Why are they going to Dhaka?
No, because they're not getting admission in India.
There are,
Why do they go to Ukraine, yaar? Why would anybody go to
I
Ukraine?
would still say Ukraine jao. Ab Dhaka maybe
Arey,
you
they
know
go to
that,
Moldova.
but shouldn't they be under some kind of ki pata karo, because Pakistanis are now landing up in Dhaka.
Listen, give me a break. Dhaka for 15 years was a safe area.
Yes.
One second. But do you know something even more ridiculous? We have allowed Kashmiri students to go and study in Pakistan. Can you believe this? This is government of India. The suicidal nature in government of India sometimes, because it wants to do virtue signaling, is astounding. It was only, I think, maybe around last 3-4 years back where they cracked down on it and they said, we will not recognize any degree coming from Pakistan, not even if you take an exam. Number one. Number two, they stopped, allowing these people to go out there. But until then, there are still students from Kashmir who are studying in Pakistani universities. Can you believe this? So forget Bangladesh. Pakistan, which is an avowed enemy, declared enemy state, which leaves no stone unturned to hurt us, damage us, kill our people. We allow our citizens to go to Pakistan to study.
So
Can anything be more brainless?
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा।
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है।
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दें?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब।
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप।
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI, it does not lie.